Why is it that we're drawn to people who maintain an air of mystery, yet we constantly sabotage our own relationships by revealing everything about ourselves on the first date? Think about it. When was the last time you felt that magnetic pull towards someone who seemed just out of reach, someone whose thoughts, desires, and history weren't immediately laid bare for you to examine? Now contrast that with how quickly you've shared your deepest secrets, your entire relationship history, your childhood traumas, sometimes before the appetizers have even arrived. You're giving away your power, and you don't even realize you're doing it. I see it all the time. People who wonder why their relationships fizzle out after a few weeks, why the intense connection they felt initially seems to evaporate into thin air, why the person who seemed so interested suddenly becomes distant, unavailable, gone. The truth is uncomfortable, but it needs to be said. In our desperate attempt to form genuine connections, we've forgotten the essential role that mystery plays in attraction. Mystery isn't about playing games. It's not about being fake or manipulative. It's about understanding the psychology of desire and the power of gradual revelation. When you share everything about yourself immediately, you're essentially saying, "Here I am, completely exposed. Take it or leave it." And while that might seem brave or authentic, what you're actually doing is robbing the other person of the journey of discovering you. The most powerful connections aren't formed in a single evening of oversharing. They're built through layers of discovery, through moments of revelation that feel earned, through the delicious anticipation of learning something new about someone who fascinates you. Let me ask you this. If you were given a wrapped gift, would you feel more excitement if you tore it open immediately? Or if you were told you could only unwrap one layer each day for a week? The anticipation, the wonder, the curiosity, these are the emotions that keep us engaged, that keep us coming back for more. But somewhere along the way, we've developed this idea that complete transparency from the start is the path to intimacy. We mistake information dumping for emotional connection. If they know everything about me, we think, then they'll truly see me for who I am. But that's not how human psychology works. When you reveal everything at once, you inadvertently communicate two things. You're desperate for acceptance. You don't value your own story enough to share it selectively. Neither of these messages is attractive. Neither of these builds the foundation for a lasting connection. Think about the most captivating books you've read, the most engaging movies you've watched. Did they reveal everything in the first chapter, the first scene, or did they strategically withhold information, creating tension, building anticipation? The best stories and the most magnetic people understand the power of the slow reveal. So what happens when you give everything away too soon? The other person hasn't had to work for the information. They haven't had to earn your trust. They haven't experienced the thrill of discovering something unexpected about you. And because of that, they value the information less. It's human nature. We value what we work for. We treasure what feels rare and hard to obtain. When you overshare immediately, you're communicating that access to your inner world is cheap, available to anyone who asks, and that drastically reduces its perceived value. I want you to pause and reflect on your last few first dates or early relationship conversations. How quickly did you share your past relationship traumas? How readily did you explain your insecurity? How soon did you reveal your deepest fears, your childhood wound? If you're like most people, the answer is too soon. You might be thinking, but I'm just being honest. I don't want to hide who I am. Here's the distinction that changes everything. There's a profound difference between being dishonest and being strategically selective about what you share and when you share it. Mystery isn't about creating a false persona. It's about respecting the natural pace of intimacy. It's about understanding that emotional connection deepens over time, not all at once. So what's the solution? How do you reclaim the power of mystery? First, recognize that your story has value. Your experiences, your thoughts, your emotions, they're precious. They deserve to be shared in a context of trust and earned intimacy, not offered up as conversation fillers on a first date. Second, practice the art of selective revelation. Instead of telling your entire life story in one sitting, share glimpses that invite curiosity, leave threads untied, create space for questions. When someone asks about your past relationships, instead of launching into a detailed account of every heartbreak, you might say, "I've learned a lot about myself through my relationships. There's been pain, but also growth. What about you?" This isn't evasion, it's recognition that the deepest parts of yourself deserve to be discovered gradually in the context of developing trust. Third, cultivate comfort with silence and unknowing. We often overshare because we're uncomfortable with pauses in conversation, with the natural tension of getting to know someone. Learn to sit with that tension, recognize it as the fertile ground from which genuine connection grows. And finally, redirect your energy toward discovery rather than disclosure. Instead of focusing on what you should share about yourself, become genuinely curious about the other person. Ask thoughtful questions, listen deeply, show that you're interested in the gradual unfolding of who they are. When you approach relationships this way, something remarkable happens. The connection develops depth naturally. You create space for intrigue, for wonder, for the delicious anticipation that comes with getting to know someone over time. Think about the relationships in your life that have stood the test of time. The deepest friendships, the most meaningful romantic connections. I'll bet they didn't start with a complete information download. They evolved day by day, revelation by revelation. That's not an accident. It's how human connection works at its best. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. But if I don't share everything, aren't I being inauthentic? Aren't I hiding parts of myself? Let me be clear. Authenticity isn't about immediate full disclosure. It's about being true to yourself throughout the process of connection. It's about sharing from a place of self-respect rather than insecurity. When you withhold certain details about yourself, not to deceive, but to allow them to emerge naturally as trust builds, you're not being fake. You're honoring the natural rhythm of human connection. You're saying, my story matters. My experiences have value, and I'm going to share them with people who have demonstrated that they deserve to hear them. That's not game playing, that's self-respect. And paradoxically, this approach actually leads to deeper, more authentic connections in the long run, because when information is exchanged gradually, in the context of growing trust, it lands differently. It's received as precious, meaningful, significant. I want you to try something. On your next date, or in your next interaction with someone you're interested in, practice the art of mystery. Instead of answering every question with exhaustive detail, offer thoughtful but selective responses. Create space for curiosity. Allow the conversation to breathe. Be present. Be engaged. Be authentic. But don't feel compelled to reveal everything. Notice how this shifts the energy of the interaction. Notice how it creates a sense of intrigue, a desire to know more. This approach isn't just more attractive, it's more respectful of the natural pace of human connection. Mystery is power, and it's time for you to reclaim yours. When you understand that who you are is valuable, too valuable to be revealed all at once, you transform how others perceive you. You create space for desire, for curiosity, for the thrill of discovery. And in that space, real connection can flourish. No more first date therapy sessions, no more premature disclosure of your deepest wounds, no more desperate attempts to force intimacy through information dump. Instead, a patient, confident unfolding of who you are. A recognition that the most powerful connections aren't rushed but cultivated over time. Your story matters. Your experiences have shaped you in profound ways. They deserve to be shared with care, in the right context, with people who have earned the right to hear them. Mystery isn't about hiding. It's about revealing yourself at the pace that honors the depth of who you are. And when you do that, something magical happens. You become not just more attractive, but more aligned with your own worth. You create space for connections that honor rather than deplete you. So the next time you're tempted to tell your life story to someone you've just met, pause, take a breath. Remember that mystery is power, and it's yours to preserve. Your most powerful connections are waiting on the other side of that restraint. Trust the process, honor your story, and watch as the quality of your relationships transform. Because when you value yourself enough to be discovered rather than exposed, others will value the discovery.